What does it take to get an African business off the ground? What are some of the challenges? What are some of the opportunities? I chatted to African superstar Akon about entrepreneurship, business, and sport on the continent we call home. And he gave me some advice on how to take a small idea and turn it into something colossal. African innovation is a topic close to your heart. Do you feel that Africa's future is linked to its innovating its own solutions for its own problems?
Yeah, I think with Africa, we've kind of found solutions, but on a ground level, you know? The hardest part was actually scaling because of the lack of infrastructure. But when you look at the local people, they find means to survive this long. So obviously the solution works only for the local level. But when you get to the point where you need to scale it out and take it to a bigger level to, you could say, collaborate with a mass people, that's where we kind of lack the opportunity there because there's no infrastructure that's in place.
What projects are you working on involved in the moment in regards to uplifting Africa and Africans?
Well, one of my most impactful projects is the lighting project, the Akon Lighting Africa, where we provide electricity to all the rural areas. Ultimately, that electricity will give them a more easier way of living, basically, and give them the tools that makes life easier for them, and also creates a more definitive opportunity that's more certain than living in the dark. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Renewable energy as a whole, I suppose, is a really important thing for Africa, and buying into that is really about investing in Africa's future then.
No, 100%, and renewable is the way for Africa because ultimately Africa's leapfrogging into the future anyway. We skip landlines straight into cell phones, and now when you look at renewable energy, only a very small portion of Africa is actually connected to the grid. So we already have clean air, we're already in a great green economy. So if we can keep it renewable and green and clean, then Africa can move forward without dealing with all the problems that, that the more developed worlds are dealing with now, with the climate change and, the high emissions and things of that nature. So those things can be very hazardous to the people. So ultimately, if we can bypass all the toxic waste and all the, things that come with having that kind of infrastructure and just go clean and renewable, we can be in a lot better place in the future for Africa itself.
And sport and Africa are intertwined. Do you feel that sport has the power to unite the continent for good?
Oh yeah, sports, when you look at soccer, soccer is a sport for the world, but Africa have like one of the best players that come out of Africa, right? And ultimately it's because when you look at soccer, it's very easy, to set up. All you need is an open space and two objects to create as a goal. You know what I mean? And the good thing is when you look at sports, it actually rounds out into a broad spectrum too, because basketball is very, very big. If you know, Africa has the tallest people on earth. You know what I mean? Only problem is they don't have a basketball infrastructure. And you have to be raising money or go to a private school to have access to playing basketball, because basketball is not as easy as setting up on an open field and putting two shoes or two rocks as a goal. You actually have to build, a basketball goal with the net and, not even a net, but just, it's a different setup altogether, So what the NBA is doing pretty much is very, is amazing because all we need is access. Anything that we can have access to, we always specialize in and we become experts in time. If you notice, all the great basketball players here today are all from Africa, and they learned from a very niche environment and was lucky to be in a position where they actually had access to a basketball court. So if we can give more access like this, then sports can play a bigger role outside of soccer here in Africa.
And I guess that leads on to the idea that games like the Africa game are really important, especially when they're on African soil.
Oh, absolutely. Because we have the population. The market is here. People here in Africa love entertainment. That's outside of singing and dancing. Sports is it's part of their lifestyle. So the one that has the most access, of course, is soccer. But basketball has the most love, and it actually represents the lifestyle of today's younger generation Africans.
You've managed to make a huge success of yourself in both your musical and business endeavors. What can young Africans learn from your story and use to improve their own lives?
I think it's more so about just following your passion. I think the passion is always your way out. Most people always follow those things that just happen to be cool or whatever's in the cool factor at the moment and always alienate their true talents, So I think at the end of the day, learning for me is more so just following the steps in which I do, because I like to be someone who leads by example. rather than just sitting on the podium constantly telling kids what they should and shouldn't do, because everybody has their own way of how they see their future. And everybody's environment is different from the next person. So the opportunities may not be available to one that it is for another. So only you know your dream and what you want to accomplish. The key is just to focus on it, harness it, and just try to put as much emphasis into that talent, that you can, to be better at what you are, just to be, in a position to be able to utilize that talent to become something bigger.
I mean, that's a phenomenal message. And, your collaborations with African artists have helped to raise the profile of those artists, not just musicians, but also, artists in general. Do you think that we'll see more African influences in music and art and culture?
Oh, absolutely. I think as all the platforms open up and more emphasis is put on African talent, you're going to start to see more African lead role models. The ones that's out there now, it's only a minimal amount of us. So our voices only speak but so far. But the more we actually open the doors for more African, entrepreneurs and influence to come through these doors and be able to inspire more younger people, I think it's going to be key.
Akon, thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you.